gentle people, and welcome to another Sparrow Art Vibes tutorial. Today I'm going to be doing another charcuterie board, and I guess technically this is a bread board because it's only 6 inches wide and about 23 inches long. Comes with a really attractive, nice leather handle for hanging. And so we are going to be decorating this board. I like to show my materials in the order in which I use them. So the first thing we're going to do is tape the back of the board. And because I am going to be doing decoupage this week, we have some thematic autumn napkins that say give thanks. And I like to put a base coat on my boards, especially if I'm using light colors, so that none of the wood shows through. So I am going to be painting this with Master's Touch Dark Titanium White. This is a little darker than the napkins, but that's okay. I'll glue the napkins to the board using Mod Podge. And of course need a paintbrush for the paint and a foam brush for the Mod Podge. I always keep a cup of water handy just in case I have to thin out the Mod Podge. Once everything is dry, we're going to do a seal coat in resin, and of course my go-to resin is the Craft Smart, so that's part A. And of course we then have part B. And with the resin, we of course need a measuring cup, we need a stir stick, and we need to protect our hands with some nitrile gloves. And I want to give this board just a little bit of bling, so I'm going to be adding some extra fine gold glitter to that resin top coat. And I believe that's it. Okay, this board didn't come with any kind of wrapping on it, but what we do have to do is take a razor blade and get these labels off. Oh, and that peels right up pretty good, like that. Other piece. And then any labels on the back. Love it when it comes up like that. Okay. And then I am only going to be putting the design on half of the board. And again, this is the front, this is the back. So we're going to tape this off. And I always let my tape come in from the edge, maybe a 1/8 of an inch, just so that when the resin runs, the resin goes over that curve. Okay. And I'm not entirely sure whether or not I want this, well, let me see, whether or not I'm going to want the design to go by the handle. So we're just going to tape this as well. And that way, if I decide to make that design go around the handle, it's all covered. And then after we put our painter's tape on, then we take our razor blade. And it's always good to use a relatively new blade so you get nice clean lines. And just run your finger along the edge of that handle so that you have a line that you can cut along, and then just beautiful. And on the other side as well. And then at the other end, I think I'll put one more piece of tape right here, just in case that's higher than I need it to be. And again, I like to just take my fingers and create that line, and then take my razor Okay, and we just press this down, make sure this is secure. Let me do this corner right here. I want a curve on this. There we go. So let's take it. I'm doing this slightly out of order. I don't know how wide the design on these napkins are, and so I need to get some idea of where to paint my base coat. So I'm just going to grab one of these out of here. Need one, and open and see if the design is just on this front side or how wide the design is. Okay, so yes, this design repeats. So I think when I do this, I am going to start with this large pumpkin in the corner here, and so this kind of gives me a rough idea of where I'm going to run my paint. So I know I'm going to sort of come up here, come down, and come across. So that's how we're going to paint this. And so we're just going to take our white titanium, we're going to run a bead. That's all we need is a bead, because again, this is a base coat. We're just going to kind of we'll go up around the handle just in case. And this doesn't have to be exact. And the edge on this can be raggedy, so it doesn't have to be all perfect and nice. All we're trying to do is ensure that when we put the napkin on the board, that none of the wood shows through. And so we're going to make sure we are painting the sides. And again, we tape that so we don't have to worry about anything. Let's just smooth that out. As you can see, a bead of paint goes a long way. And then just kind of smooth it out. Just smooth it out a little bit. I seem to be wanting to have something up here. I don't know what I want up here. I'm making that a little higher than the rest. And then let me just double check the height on that. Oops, I want to make sure this is within the camera. So we just want to make sure that we have painted high enough I think we've done that. And then we're just going to let this dry for a couple of hours, and then we'll come back in and we will apply our pumpkins. Okay. We can just set that board there. All right, that's that for now. I'll be back in 2 hours. Okay guys, I am back. It's been a couple of hours. This is nice and dry. I like that. And so now the challenge is to decide how to place the design on the board. Most of the napkins that I purchase are, excuse me, are 3-ply napkins. That means they're 3 sheets of paper. And so the first thing we're going to do when we take this out of here is separate the plies. Now the easiest way to do that, you can sit and struggle with your fingers to try and pull these apart, but I have found that if you just take a little piece of Scotch tape, put Scotch tape on one corner, and that will catch that paper, and that will pull that sheet off of there. That's one ply. And then let's see. Let's do this one more time. A little piece of tape on there. And now you can see how thin that is. So again, to make sure you realize this was the first ply that I pulled off with that piece of tape stuck to the corner. So that's one ply. This is the second. And now you have this very thin design. So the next step is to figure out how you're going to place this on this board. So I already know we painted this corner higher. Let me move this over. We painted this corner higher because I knew I wanted this large pumpkin in the corner. So I'm just going to take my scissors, and I don't want like a big pumpkin. I don't want it to repeat like that. So I'm just going to take my scissors. I'm going to cut that, and then let's see. Let's cut each of these. Let's cut out all 4. Let's just cut out all 4 of them, and then we can play with how I want to place them. Okay, so we have the 4 pieces. I'm just going to set those there. We know we want the big pumpkin right here on the end. We know we want that. And I think I'm going to take the scissors and cut this big pumpkin. I think I'm just going to cut this big pumpkin away. We're going to get rid of the big pumpkin, and I think actually let's cut the border off of this one. So if we lay this one here, and then we lay this here. Okay, since I don't want this to repeat exactly, I think I'm going to do the same thing, cut and start with the green one here. think I like that. And because I don't want this to be an exact repeat, let's I guess I can go ahead and cut the big one off of here, and I think I'll cut this stem on this one as well so that it makes it look a little bit different. And I really should be cutting with smaller scissors, but whatever. And we're going to, I think I kind of like that. And then I painted up here, so now I'm going to have to do something up here. So I think I'll just let the big pumpkin, put the big pumpkin, I don't know, I'll figure that out when I get to that end. Okay, so now that I roughly have this laid out the way I want, what I'm going to do, move that one, move that one, move that one, is now start with my decoupage. So I have the decoupage, I have my foam brush. I happen to like the foam. Oh, I guess it would be useful if I could get this open. Oh, I can't get this open. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I had to actually soak this container in some hot water in order to loosen this, to get this lid off of here. So again, when you finish, always make sure that you wipe all of the stuff that's stuck around the edges. Make sure you wipe your rim really well so that you don't have the problem I just had with stuff sticking and you can't get into it. So again, I've got my decoupage, and so I'm just going to take my foam brush and put my decoupage glue on here. Excuse me. And then we're just going to lay this right about there, I guess is good. And then just tap it in place with your finger lightly. And then what, this was the second design, and this is about, okay, so we want to come over to about here. And I guess I'm going to put this, let this overlap right about there. Just turning this up to make sure there is glue on the design. I didn't decide what I was going to do with the handle, but I think I'm going to just put this big pumpkin at this end. most of it will be off the board, but well, yeah, we'll do that and see what happens. Oh, let's get rid of this border right here. Or if it's not a border, it's actually the background. Let's get rid of this beige background. And let's drop that. Let's do that just about like that. Okay, so now I didn't use the water. Let's get rid of this. I didn't use the water for the decoupage because this was thin enough, but what we are going to use the water to do is get rid of this beige edge. And so I'm going to take this water, dip my brush into the water and wet the edge of this napkin, and we're just going to basically tear it away. So in the same way that you have distressed jeans, this is like distressing this paper. So we don't want a smooth edge on this. We want it to be sort of a jagged edge so it looks more natural. These are some thick napkins. This is not tearing very easily. Now you want to saturate the napkin, and then you see this rolling, you see this peeling up. These are good quality napkins. I purchased my napkins at Tuesday morning. I don't know where you live or if there's a Tuesday morning near you, but they have a really wonderful collection of products for entertaining. So if you're looking for things like decorative charcuterie boards, they have them in slate, they have them in marble, you know, bamboo like this one. They have them in maple, a lot of the hardwoods. Okay, that's the way that should be. So just take your time, take the brush, wet the napkin. To get rid of the parts that you don't want. And probably a brush with harder bristles, with firmer bristles, might make this a little easier, but I don't want to tear the design. That's why I'm taking my time. You don't want to grab hold of this and have your design come loose. and try and leave this stem. See if I can get that stem to stay without me tearing all of this loose. Well, that's pretty good. Side, I'm just going to take some scissors and speed up the process here. And if we clip this in a couple of places, that'll help that lay down. Now notice I didn't tape up here, but that'll be okay. We can just sand that if it leaves it a thick spot. So once you've distressed the edge the way you want, then we'll go back and now we'll put the top coat of Mod Podge on this. And one of the things that I left out of my materials is saran wrap or cling wrap or whatever you want to call it. I use this because when I put the Mod Podge on here, I put this on top and then I can smooth it down and it doesn't get stuck all over my fingers. So now we're going to just Mod Podge. And now I take a piece of saran wrap or cling wrap or whatever you call it. And now I can smooth this out. Get rid of the wrinkles. Push this over the edge. And this way your hands don't get messy and you don't pick up the design. And carefully pull up your wrap and then move it down. Again, carefully pull that up. I'm just going to put it down at the end here. And And then we're just going to leave this and allow this to dry. Okay, so that's what we're working with here. That's what we're working with. I'm just going to wet my finger and just press this down. I think I want to get rid of a little more of this paper up here. And if you have some extra Mod Podge where you don't want it, just take a napkin, a damp cloth, or a damp paper towel and just wipe it away. And then I just noticed that that edge is sticking up right there. So we're just going to dampen that edge to make sure that stays laying down. I think I like that. Yeah, I think I like that. I think I'm satisfied. I'll work this a little bit more. And then we're just going to leave this and give it a couple of hours for it to dry. And then we'll come back and we'll seal this design with some resin. You don't have to spend as much time as I'm spending working on these edges, but I really do like this to have a nice finished. And you see as this dries, it looked really light when we put the white Mod Podge on here, but as it dries it's getting darker, and when we put the resin on, then the color will really start to pop. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave that like that. Just clean this stuff off of here. Get rid of this. Let's see if I can wipe this off. Okay, that looks good. We're going to let this dry. Put it right there so you can see it. Yep, that's that. I am back. While the Mod Podge was drying on the board, I happened to take a look at the original napkin and the artwork, and I saw Give Thanks and thought, you know what, actually I really want those words on the board. but this is too light and I didn't like the ivory background. So what I did instead was used my Cricut and I cut out the words "Give Thanks" and added them to the board. Was going to do it in orange vinyl and decided it would compete with the lettering, so I wanted something a little more subtle, so I went with the copper, and I like that. So now I'm going to mix the resin and we're going to put the seal coat on this and call it done. Okay, so let me get the cups on here to elevate this. And then we are going to mix our resin. So we're going to mix 50 milliliters of Part B Craft Smart. And 50 milliliters of Part A. And of course the instructions for Craft Smart require that you mix your resin for 5 minutes. So we're going to turn on the timer. Oops. And we are going to stir this for 5 minutes. And remember, I always say make sure you're not stirring just in a circle, because the resin in the center does not get mixed. You want to stir back and forth, you want to stir across, you want to make sure that you're scraping the sides of your mixing container, you want to make sure that you're scraping the bottom. Alrighty. So to make sure that this leather hanging strap doesn't get messed up, I'm just going to tape it out of the way. Let's put some tape on here and keep it out of my way. Okay. And then we are just going to go ahead and add some resin. Of course, we want to make sure we do the sides. And instead of putting resin across the whole board, I'm just going to shape these letters with clear resin. And that's really just to hold the lettering in place. To put that lettering on here permanently. And you will recall in my materials, I mentioned that I was going to use some gold glitter, this extra fine glitter. So I'm going to add some of this to the resin that's in here. Oops. And again, this is just a little bit. This is not a lot. This is just to give us a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of bling when the light hits this board. That's very subtle. And we're just going to follow the outline. You want to make sure you do the sides, and I don't know if you noticed that this is no longer on the white mat. I'm now working on a silicone mat, and that's because when this drips, it'll just peel right off the mat, easy to clean up. So we're putting resin on the sides. As it drips, just scrape it off and scoop it back up to the top. Alright, so we'll let this set for about 15 minutes and come back in here and then put the heat gun to it and pop any air bubbles. And let it cure overnight. And now I'm going to use the heat gun to pop any bubbles that might be remaining that haven't popped on their own. And we will cover this and allow it to cure overnight. Okay, I am back. This is the next day. Let's get this cover off of here. And let's see what we have. Oh, that looks pretty good. That is nice. You hear my dog barking. Brace this up. Get rid of these cups. Okay, so this is what we're working with. And so what we need to do now to finish this is just remove this tape and sand these edges, and that'll be it. So what we're going to do is use the heat gun, and we're going to run the heat gun right along the edge here to soften this resin, and this tape should, for the most part, peel right up. Let's see what we're working with. Very good. Let's get this edge here. Turn this. A little more heat. This doesn't require heat. Okay. And so that looks really nice. So we have a little blob right there that we're going to heat up. then take our razor and just peel that right up. And we have another little blob right there. Okay, so this has just a slight ridge on here, and I keep saying I like to have that run right over the edge. So we're just going to heat this, heat this line a little bit. And see if we can just trim that little lip right off of there. Heat is your friend. And a nice sharp razor. Excuse me. And so what I generally do at this point is I just take a sanding block just run my fingers along that edge to make sure that feels really smooth. And that looks really nice. So what we need to do now is just get some oil on this. Of course, I'm always using the 13 Chefs food grade mineral oil. Drop, drop, drop. And while some people put oil on with cloths, I like to use my fingers. Okay, and we will let that oil soak in for about 20 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll wipe off any excess.